La Palma in the Canary Islands is one of the most spectacular locations on Earth to hold an endurance running event. Known as La Isla Bonita, the beautiful island, La Palma also has some harsh volcanic landscapes that will test over 1,000 endurance runners to their limits. Now in its fourth year, the Transvulcania ultramarathon takes the runners from the south of the island on a unique journey whose high point is the vast crater of the Caldera de Tebrente. At 83 kilometers, the race is the distance of 2 marathons with over 4,000 meters of vertical climbing thrown in. You can't just walk the race either. The entire course must be completed in one day, which means that everyone who finishes within the time limit has put in an athletic performance worthy of the massive reception waiting at the finish line in Los Llanos de Aridan. Before the race, La Isla Bonita is the ideal place for the world's best trail and ultra runners to unwind. Now part of the Skyrunner World Series, the event has attracted Europe's and the USA's finest. It's all smiles in the Elite Runners Hotel at the moment, but in the race there will be reputations at stake. The USA team is strong and ranges from trail legends like Jeff Rose to gifted youngster Dakota Jones.
Just kind of walking around, you see guys like Jeff Rose, Killian Jornet, all my friends from America like Joe Grant and Ian Sharman and Mike Wolf, all those guys. Then there's just a ton of Europeans who are all super fast, and yeah, it's going to be really competitive. A lot of fun to race those guys. It's going to bring the race to a super high level.
Andy Simmons comes from a successful hill running family in Britain, but now bases himself in France.
There's the French squad who I kind of am part of now, even though I'm English. So there's Thomas, Laurent Blanchet, there's Eric Lavray, and there's François Den. And then some of the obviously the big European name is the Spaniard Killian, and Iker, who was second to him at the UTMB last year. So Americans I've heard a lot about and I've seen results. There's Dakota Jones, who's reasonably new to the scene because he's quite young, but he's had some amazing results, winning a 50 mile just a couple of weeks ago. And Mike Wolf, obviously, who won the San Fran 50 last year, so I thought it would be an exciting opportunity to see how I fare against some of the best in the world, yeah, and have a bit of fun on the Isla de la Palma.
No visiting athlete has spent longer here in preparation than New Zealander Anna Frost. Silver medalist in the 2010 Skyrunner World Series, the overwhelming favourite for the women's event, has had 4 weeks to get to know La Palma.
It's a tiny island, but it's so steep. It's one of the steepest in the world, I believe, and it's intriguing. There's a little bit of everything. There's volcanic sand, there's big volcanic rocks, there's pine tree forests, there's native bush forests. It goes from being 5 degrees 1 minute to 25 degrees the next minute if you're up on a range or down on the beach. And so yeah, pretty much it's a brutal mountain with a lot of extremes.
In only 4 years, the event has acquired a huge following on the island and throughout Spain, with runners crowding to see the Spanish stars like reigning champion Iker Carrera and challenger Killian Jornet. Though he's the challenger, Jornet, who's also a champion ski mountaineer, is the standout favourite. But this is one of the few major ultras the Catalan has not won.
I love mountains, and my life is mountains, so I need to be in the nature every day, and I go running because it's my passion. I like to run every distance, to vertical kilometer, to ultra races, so I'm not a specific ultra runner. I prefer to race every kind of races.
The atmosphere is buzzing at registration the day before the start, but deep down everyone is aware of the hard work and the pain that lies ahead. One man who is well aware of the challenge is Iker Carrera, the defending champion who comes from the Basque region of Spain.
The
person who wins will have to have trained harder than anyone else and be in the best form of their life. I don't think that the athlete that wins needs to have a special type of talent. There's no magic to it. He will just need to work very hard and be lucky tomorrow.
Tomorrow begins early too. The start is at 6 a.m. at Punta de Funcaliente, the southernmost point of the island. The race climbs immediately from sea level into the Cumbre Vieja, a chain of volcanoes that line the southern part of the island. There's a descent to the halfway point of El Pilar when the climbing starts all over again with the ascent of Roque de los Muchachos, the highest point of the race and of the island. The descent from here takes the runners to the sea at Tazecorte before a cruel final climb of 350 metres over the last 6 kilometres to the finish in Los Llanos. The race consists of a half marathon finishing at El Pilar and a full distance event with the hundreds of competitors in that category first around the lighthouse and head on to the dusty trails. Francois Dane is the leader after half a mile. Though he almost goes the wrong way in the dark, Kylian Jornet briefly takes the lead, as well as pointing out the route to the errant Frenchman. It's a moment that shows the spirit of fair play. Jornet, number 27, drops back into second place, seemingly happier following than leading. Anna Frost is the first place woman in the event. She holds the record for the Everest Marathon and has World and Commonwealth running medals to her name. But she has plenty of competition in this race, and in the dark, it's difficult for any athlete to know where their rivals are. The leading men keep up a watchful eye on one another as the first town of Los Canarios approaches after a 700-metre climb from sea level. Kylian is running hard behind the Americans Dakota Jones and Mike Wolf, but the Americans are the first to take the applause, with the senior partner, attorney Mike Wolf, sensing this could be an opportunity for a famous victory.
Kylian's the favorite to win, just because, you know, he's pretty much beat, I think, everyone that here, you know, that's racing at other races. But, you know, he's coming off a long ski season and hasn't been running as much as the rest of us, so we'll see whether that plays to our advantage.
It's the younger American Dakota in front, though, with Wolf in second, Florent Troyer in third, Eric Claverie fourth, Kylian in fifth, and the defending champion, Iker Carrera, in sixth. It's hard to believe that they can set off at this pace with 75 kilometres still to run. Andy Simmons is seventh, which in a race of this quality is very impressive, but he'll be looking to do better later on.
Is there a girl in front?
No, I don't think so.
Anna is indeed the first of the women and in the top 40 overall as she attacks the slopes of the volcano.
How you feeling today?
I'm hot already. Far out, it's boiling. Feels like only 3 in the morning.
American Darcy Africa is in second place in the women's. Well, back in Los Canarios, for the masses, it's a welcome moment of encouragement and applause before the relentless climb resumes. La Palma loves this race and every runner is a hero in these parts. The crowds will be just as enthusiastic and even more numerous when the runners pass through El Pilar, at the gap between the Cumbre Vieja range and the Caldera. It's not so much the halfway point of the race, but at 27 kilometres, it's the end of the opening stages. "20-year-old Dakota Jones is looking relaxed as the American leads the way.
How you feeling?
We're good, man. Look where we are. This place is beautiful.
I know that the race course goes from the ocean straight up to almost the highest point, then drops down, then goes up to the actual highest point. And so I'm actually excited to kind of get the tour of the island through the race.
The race is the perfect but certainly the most energetic way to tour La Palma as it takes in the beaches, forests and spectacular landscapes. It's some achievement that after only 4 years, Transvulcania is capable of attracting the best in the world. This field of ultra runners is one of the strongest ever assembled, and the early stages are keenly watched both on the ground and across the globe via the internet. It takes Dakota Jones just 2 hours, 27 minutes to reach El Pilar. Looking fresher than he did in the early stages and easily crossing the terrain, Kilian Jornet is just 2 minutes behind. Andy Simmons likewise is moving steadily up the field and the mountains. He's in fourth now behind Thomas Leblanchet. Behind him, the defending champion Iker Carrera is struggling to maintain contact with the group. It's a well-executed race plan so far from Simmons.
If you're talking tactics, I won't be afraid to let people get a little bit of a lead on me at the start if they're going at a pace which I think is unsustainable, because I won't be surprised if a couple of people do that and then blow up towards the end.
It's fast but not furious, and is still just taking things easy. His brother Joe is the current leader of the British Fell Running Championship Series, and Father Hugh was one of the best when the sport was at its peak. They're a dynasty.
How are you feeling, Andy?
Feeling, yeah, really good. But there's a long way to go and things can change. But I want to be feeling good now. I want to have some fun on this ridge up here. See if I can catch those two in front of me. But
He's ambitious. Iker Carrera, on the other hand, already knows that it won't be his day. Some of the favourites, like Mike Rose of America, are struggling. While the half-marathon runners fly into El Pilar behind them, those continuing onto the long course are cheered through. Leading the women's race by 11 minutes and starting to give some of the elite men a real fright, Anna Frost is on course to demolish the record as she heads out towards the highest part of the route. Like many, she's not done this race before and is running into the unknown. The outcome will depend on how the athletes cope as the mountains get higher and the day gets hotter. In the men's race, Kilian Jornet will start to put the pressure on Dakota Jones, while Andy Simmons will challenge both of them.
When you start going above 80k, you start getting into the realms of an exercise of survival rather than sort of speedy running.
Even the greatest athletes will have to give everything today. Welcome back to the Transvulcania Ultra Marathon. The runners are through the halfway point at El Pilar, with the American Dakota Jones leading from the race favourite Kilian Jornet. It's an 83-kilometre race with over 4,000 metres of ascent, and the next stage is the toughest part of all as it takes the runners around the rim of the caldera, a crater 10 kilometres across and 2 kilometres deep in places. It's a run of grueling, constant ups and downs, with the highest peak at Roque de los Muchachos at 2,443 metres, from which the descent towards the sea begins. The runners are a long way from that point though, as the heat of the day really starts to hurt. There's no shelter beneath what are the clearest skies in the world, hence the dozens of observatories located here.
The one thing that I'm honestly most concerned about is how hot it's going to be. You know, coming from Montana, I mean, more or less coming from winter. It's hot here, it's humid. I mean, I know that's going to play into the race for me.
Kilian Jornet is coming to the Skyrunner World Series after a winter of ski mountaineering, but he seems to be adjusting to the heat well enough so far. He's in the lead and threatening to open up a gap on Dakota Jones as they approach Roque de los Muchachos. It's downhill from here, and the American will fancy his chances if he can stay strong. Kilian is running the climbs and moving lightly, not carrying water here. But Dakota, with his 2 big bottles and his long stride, is hard to shake off.
I mean, I live in mountains in Colorado, so I do a lot of vert. I do a lot of up and down. I think the descending is probably one of my stronger suits. You know, I can hang on climbing, and I like descending. Think it's exciting to run down hills fast, and especially when they're technical. So I'm looking forward to that part.
Dakota hangs on until the drink station at the summit, which spectators can access via one of the observatory roads. Andy Simmons has broken clear of his group and is in third now, not far behind the leaders, moving lightly and easily over the course.
I think there's 14 aid stations, so over 80k. That's quite a lot, I think. And there's quite a lot of water on the course, so I carry a bit of water, but not a lot, because I think when you're running up and down a lot, you want to be as light as possible, so you don't want to be carrying a kilo of water on you for too long at all, really. If you're carrying any water on you want to be necking it pretty quickly so you can carry on lightly. And yeah, it's about anticipating when you're going to get hungry and when you're running out of energy, and drinking and eating before that. Just keep topping up, really.
Anna Frost is new to ultra running but is putting in an unbelievable performance. She's only 50 minutes behind the leading men and now in the top 30 overall. Nuria Picasse is half an hour behind Anna at the top, also on course to beat the old record, but Frost is long gone.
It's going to be really hard. It's long. It's going to be the unknown for me. The distance I've done in San Francisco the last 2 years, but it's the time is going to be a lot longer. So that's the scary bit.
No one in the race can ever ignore the clock. The cut-off times are there for safety and demand a decent pace all day on what is a long and devastatingly tough course.
For me, when you start going above 80k, you start getting into the realms of an exercise of survival rather than sort of speedy running. I think a lot of the secret in winning this thing is managing your own level of energy, keeping going at the pace that you can for 8 hours, making sure you're knackered at the finish but not halfway around, so you get to the finish on your knees, but you're not on your knees after 4 hours, and then you have to do for another 4 hours walking almost.
It's a calculation some have got very wrong. These are not even at Roque de los Muchachos yet. The last 25 kilometres will be hell, even if the support, the scenery and the aid stations are all first class. Roque is a chance to fuel up for the final assault to the finish. But at this point of the race, what goes down may not stay down. Glazed eyes and legs coated in volcanic dust. The dust full of particles of grit that can rip the feet apart if it's not washed away. It all adds up to an unbelievable challenge in an unforgettable location.
Mountain running is more hard for the muscles, so we need to be stronger in muscles and not so fast. But the biggest difference is the mind, because when you run for 20 hours, 30 hours, is the strongest muscle are not the legs, are the mind. So you need to don't think about the pain, because the pain is, and you then need to forget.
And in the final stages, it's Kilian who is feeling that pain as he hits the last climb from the coast at Tazacorte up to the finish at Los Llanos. After 83.3 kilometres with almost everyone in the town out to welcome him, it's Dakota Jones who still looks relaxed as he takes the win in 6 hours, 58 minutes, 44 seconds, beating the course record by over 30 minutes.
How was the race?
Race was the hardest race I've ever done. Lo siento para mi español, La Palma es un Isla Bonita. Y difícil, muy difícil. They say that the best performances by athletes are often easy, but that was hard from start to finish. Here comes Andy, he's amazing. Can't wait to talk to him.
Less than 2 minutes behind, Andy Simmons takes second place. A spent force.
Well, I'm just so chuffed. I mean, I'd have been happy with the podium, and there's a hell of a field here, to be honest. I know there's a lot of quality runners. It's a bit longer than what I normally do, so it's a bit of a step into the ultra. It's a good starting point, I think. But hats off to Dakota for his final 4 mile. Strong.
It turns out that Andy led the race for a while but didn't have the strength to hold on to the lead. Kilian Jornet has only just enough energy to reach the line in any position. There's nothing left for theatrics. Francois Dane is fourth ahead of Iker Carrera, who continued strongly to take fifth. No win for Kilian Jornet, but this race is too tough to be predictable.
I4 because my mind is playing disconnect. So after this point, the vision is not clear, and then also for talking is not is difficult. So I think it's more that my full body is warming, and then one moment they say it's too much.
Anna Frost blows away the women's course record by more than 2 hours, only just over an hour behind Dakota Jones. In the second half of the race, she moved up to 13th place overall, while the others fell away. She also made it look easy. Surely it wasn't.
Done nothing like this before in my life, and I'm not sure if I will again. It's been hard, you know. I've trained for a month for it. It was a hard race, and it's a hard landscape, and it's a hard event.
It's a perfect start to the Skyrunner World Series for Frost, while Pikas takes second in 8 hours 51, also breaking the old record. Nikki Kimball and Darcy Africa in third and fourth make it a great day for the Americans in the women's event. With the last competitors taking over 17 hours, 561 Skyrunners make it to the finish. And in dramatic scenes at the end of the race, every one of them is given a totally deserved hero's welcome from the people of La Palma. Many are still crossing the line as the winners and record breakers take one final climb onto the podium to the applause of the crowd. Many of them already signed up to be back in La Palma when the Transvulcania Ultramarathon returns in 2013.